So
Yes, President Alvarez, I'm ready. Thank you so much.
the regular board meeting of the West Basin Municipal Water District. And if we could have a determination of quorum, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, happy to take roll call. Director Scott Houston. Here. Director Don Deere. Here. Director Gloria Gray.
Here.
Director Harold Williams. Here. President Desi Alvarez.
Here. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll have Director here lead us in the pledge.
I got it. Okay. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, presentations. Folks, before presentation, we have public comment.
That's correct.
Any members of the public indicated they would like to address the board?
Yes, Mr. President, we have received a request for public comment. I believe Mr. James George Kennedy should be joining us virtually. Mr. Kennedy, if you'd like to deliver your public comment, we do provide 3 minutes. Mr. Kennedy, are you with us? Mr. President, it doesn't look as though Mr. Kennedy has joined the meeting with us. Again, this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If any member of the public would like to make public comment, please indicate so by raising your virtual hand. And Mr. President, we do not have any requests.
Okay, so then moving on to presentation. This is Women's History Month, and we will be recognizing it. And today is a proclamation that will be presented. So,
Yes, Mr. President, we are very honored to recognize Women's History Month. And for this presentation, we do have our board secretary, Desiree Quintero, here for the presentation.
So in honor of Women's History, the board has signed a proclamation that I will now read. Whereas Women's History Month has been celebrated in the United States since 1987 and recognizes and celebrates the contributions of women throughout the nation's history. And whereas Women's History Month celebrates the ability to advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion, which recognizes women past and present throughout the country who understand that for a positive future, we need to eliminate bias and discrimination from our lives and institutions. And whereas Women's History Month recognizes that women have been on the front lines fighting for and securing equal rights and opportunity throughout our country's history as civil rights leaders, suffragists, and labor activists. And whereas Women's History Month acknowledges that women continue to lead as advocates for reproductive rights, champions of racial justice, and LGBTQIA+ equality. And whereas Women's History Month promotes the importance of recognizing the sacrifices made by women or women to help make our country and the world a fairer, safer place for all. So now therefore be it proclaimed for the month of March 2024 that the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District hereby observe Women's History Month as an annual celebration to honor the generations of trailblazing women who have built America and West Basin's own commitment to recognizing the women who contribute to our communities.
thank you very much, Deborah. Okay, next item, or items to be agendized, that come up after the posting of the agenda, and I don't believe there's any.
That's correct.
So we will move on to the consent calendar, and for the consent calendar, I am going to remove item 7B3 to the action calendar. Does anybody else wish to have any of the other items from the consent calendar removed or presented?
I would move the balance of the items. For approval.
We have a motion for the consent calendar. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll take a vote on that. Mr. General Manager, could you do so?
Director Scott Houston.
Yes.
Director Don Deere.
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray. Director Gray. Director Harold Williams.
Here?
Oh,
You're voting
There you go.
Yes.
on the consent calendar.
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
I'm voting, yes, with the exception of item 7B, 1 through 8, 3 has been withdrawn. And item 7D, 1 through 4, it would be, the total goes to.
So noted.
Okay, so we're gonna.
Mr. President, do I hear Director Gray? I don't know if she wanted to log her vote.
Director Gray, are you with us?
I apologize. I thought I heard her.
Mr. President,
Yes.
can we just hear what the final vote count was then at this time? That's okay?
The final vote count at this time is 3 votes affirmative for all of the consent calendar with the exception of item 7D3. And 3 to 1 for items 1, 2, or excuse me, 7A and 7B, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C, and then C was a vote of 4 to 0, and then 3 to 1 on D, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Hold on. Okay, got it. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay, so we will move to the action calendar. And the first item on the action calendar is rescheduled for this board meeting. General Manager, would you like to make a presentation on those?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Item 8A begins on packet page 326. And for this presentation, we do have Desiree Quintero, our Manager of Administration and Board Secretary.
Good afternoon, members of the board. In March, the West Basin Municipal Water District's regular board meeting is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, March 26, 2024, following the Cesar Chavez holiday. Due to the holiday, the meeting now conflicts with Metropolitan Water District of Southern California's scheduled executive committee meeting. As several board members regularly attend MWD meetings, staff recommends that the board consider rescheduling the regular board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 26, 2024 to Wednesday, March 27, 2024 at 1 p.m. In May, the West Basin regular board meeting is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, May 28, 2024, following the Memorial Day holiday. Due to the holiday, this meeting now conflicts with MWD's scheduled executive committee meeting. Staff also recommends that the board consider rescheduling the regular board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, May 28, 2024 to Wednesday, May 29, 2024 at 1 p.m. So
Sure, I'll move the recommendations.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, can we take a vote on that? Oh, do you have any comments? Director Gray, do you have any comments on this? Okay,
No, I
let's go
don't.
ahead and
Thank
take
you.
a vote.
Director Scott Houston.
Yes.
Director Don Deere.
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray.
Yes.
Director Harold Williams.
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yeah,
Vote passes 5 to 0.
okay, the next item is item 8B, which is ratification of the 2024 Standing Committee appointments. And I will introduce this item and discuss this item. The standing committees are the Engineering and Operations Committee, Finance Administration, Public Information and Education, Water Policy and Legislation, and Ethics Committee. and I have discussed the existing committee assignments with the board members. And at this time, we will not be making any changes to all of the, existing assignments will are, and I'm briefly over the engineering and operations will be chaired by myself. And it will consist of the member Harold Williams, director Harold Williams, and the alternate director Donald Deere. Finance and administration will be chaired by Director Scott Houston. And the member will be Director Harold Williams, and the alternate will be Director Gloria Gray. Public information and education will be chaired by by Director Harold Williams. The member will be Director Scott Houston, and the alternate is myself. Water policy and legislation, and the chair is Director Gloria Gray. The member is Director Don Deere, and the alternate is Director Scott Houston. And last but not least is the Ethics Committee, which does meet infrequently, but it does meet. It's chaired by Director Don Deere, member is Director Scott Houston, and the alternate is myself. And at this time, I will not be making any other changes to the ad hoc committees. But we may revisit at a future date as the work of the ad hoc committee continues. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if none, I do need a
Motion approved.
to confirm those appointments.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray,
Yes.
Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Okay, the next item is item 8C, which is ratification of recycled water distribution repairs in El Segundo. Mr. General Manager, would you like to introduce that item?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. This item does begin on packet page 330. And for this presentation, we do have Frank Phelps, our operations supervisor.
Directors, this board memo is to request board ratification of critical repair implemented by our distribution contractor Infomart. Since the repair exceeded $35,000 limit of what our distribution contractor can implement per their agreement, these expenses for critical repairs are brought to the board for ratification per our procurement code. Back on last year, on November 15th, a city of El Segundo contractor was working near a West Basin pipeline located on El Segundo Boulevard near Illinois Street. The contractor was aware that there was a West Basin pipeline at this location because it was marked by a dig alert. The contractor encountered a concrete encasement, which should have prompted them to contact West Basin. However, the contractor continued to work and cracked a 16-inch West Basin reverse osmosis pipeline provides reverse osmosis treated recycled water to the Chevron refinery. The refinery had limited backup supplies and urgently requested that the work be implemented immediately to prevent any interruption in their process. The repairs were implemented by a subcontractor to Infomart, J.D. Salazar Construction and Supply Corporation, starting on November 15th. They worked through that night to restore service the morning of November 16th, and street restoration was completed by the 17th. The total cost for the repair work, including the Infomart markup, is $55,539.43. The staff will be submitting all associated costs for this repair to the city of El Segundo for reimbursement. I'll now read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board ratify the expenditures for the emergency repair of 16 recycled water pipeline near 1617 El Segundo Boulevard, El Segundo, in the amount of $55,539.43. That they have to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Board members, are there any questions? Director Gray, do you have any questions on this item?
No, thank you.
I have a question. The recommendation is for basically ratifying the expenditure and billing the city of El Segundo for the $55,539.43. But you said there's some additional costs that have been incurred. Those are gonna be billed with this, and do you need board action for that?
Those are staff hours, and some separate Infomart hours. So since this is part of a procurement for only the repairs that the Public Works were essentially that went over the $35,000, that's why we're presenting this to the board for approval.
Thank you.
Well,
With that,
I'll move the item.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Can we take a vote?
Director Scott Houston. Director John Deere.
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray.
yes,
Director Harold Williams.
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. All right, moving on to the next item, which is 8D. It's the direct install disadvantaged community parkway grass replacement pilot program. Mr. General Manager, would you please introduce the item?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. This item was brought before the Public Information and Education Committee as an information item. At that time, the committee and board recommended that it be brought back as an action item to the board meeting. And for this presentation, we do have Matt Day, the Manager of Water Policy and Resources Development.
Thank you, EJ, and good afternoon, directors. I just want to thank you first off for the discussion and the feedback that you provided to us at the PI committee last week. Staff is very excited to move this program forward. We've done some, kind of as much, I think, preparation work in getting this program ready as we can, short of receiving the board's final approval. Some of the things that we are doing to be ready is we want to ensure that we are targeting communities in each of the 5 divisions to the maximum extent possible. So we've utilized GIS to help us identify those areas. I think I mentioned that it was those communities in the top quartile of disadvantaged communities that we're targeting for this program. We've also been utilizing a turf dashboard that Metropolitan Water District offers to its member agencies to verify the existing turf areas in those communities. We want to make sure that any neighborhoods that we're going targeting with this, that they actually have grass, existing grass in their parkways. We've also submitted our official funding request to Metropolitan to use funding for the fiscal year 22 to 24 member agency administered program. As I mentioned, this program would be 100% funded through Metropolitan's MAP funding that they make available to us. The RFP process is complete, and we believe that we have a wonderful vendor who's waiting in to help us get this program kicked off here in the next month or so. So staff is seeking your support to move this program forward. And with that, I can read the recommendation. So staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Ecotech Services Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $142,390 for landscape design, landscape construction, and other related services for implementation of West Basin's direct install disadvantaged community parkway grass replacement pilot program.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the board members have any questions or comments on this item? Director Houston.
I have a question, Matt, and I looked at the map, and of course, was one of the ones that said, let's please be as equitable as possible, the 5 divisions where the map overlays. But I'm asking probably an obvious question, but when folks apply, is there some sort of they have to have a certain income or below an income to qualify? Because obviously people of all incomes live in multiple areas that may be shaded, so.
That's a really good question, actually, Director Houston. And we haven't, I guess, drawn out those specifications yet, but I think for starters, it would be if they're living in one of those impacted areas. So I don't know that we're going to go to a property by property analysis. It would probably be in that general area. They would qualify for the.
So I guess on that, I'm a little confused because there are areas where a person could make a decent amount of money or higher. They just happen to live on a block that's in that shaded area. So I'm assuming this is not blanket just because you live on that street, you just by default get it. I mean, the goal is for folks who can't quite afford this would be getting
Yes.
these funds.
Yeah, we can definitely see what we're able to do in terms of drilling down to that level. If that's the will of the board and you want to make that recommendation, we can certainly add that to the parameters of how we choose eligible properties.
I think we need better clarification than that.
If I could just jump in real quick and give you,
Excuse me a second.
oh, of course.
On this particular item, this is about 2 years old now. And I'm glad it's coming back. I believe at the time that we talked about this, we did put, or discuss, I thought we put the constraints on it, apparently not, but we did discuss it. That it was targeted for disadvantaged communities and the target would have been below the median household income for the county. Because there are families living within the shaded area, not all the shaded areas are 100% disadvantaged household. So we talked about really targeting those households where the threshold was below the for LA County. And I'm surprised that that was not part of the criteria. So I would agree with Director Houston on that particular item. That maybe we should revisit this, and if we can't do it now, at least bring it back to the board. Either we can do that now, and if not, let's bring that back.
We're happy to bring it back. I did want to note that both Metropolitan Water District and the way they apply their MAAP funding for disadvantaged communities, as well as the disadvantaged community grass replacement program and our grass replacement plus program. Those are not, there's no income verifications or anything like that. It's part of the community. And especially on a program like this is the median. So it's not in the specific yard, although it is maintained by the homeowner, if you will. And so this is part of a beautification process within our disadvantaged communities. So there is no income verification if you were to apply through Metropolitan Water District for that additional dollar through the grass replacement program. They would not verify income. They would verify the address within the tract, and that's how that would be applied.
I understand, but we are putting some of our dollars into.
Actually, this program would be wholly funded by the MAAP funding. We would have staff time. So it's not to say that we can't bring it back. I just want to make that clarification that in most of our programs that are focused in on our disadvantaged communities, West Basin does not provide any income verification within those communities at all. We don't have the resources or even the capability of doing that. And then, of course, Metropolitan Water District, the way they do their disadvantaged community programs, they don't do that as well.
But they would be applying to us, not Metropolitan.
In this case, yes.
So we could just ask for an income verification.
I would not recommend that West Basin take that on.
It would be a self-reporting question to the homeowners who applied for the program and to have them.
I see Gus joining us. Might be able to add some context to the MAAP fund.
EJ, good afternoon, directors. Yes, so we are utilizing the EPA Cal EnviroScreen 4.0 tool that uses pollution and different factors as a point rating system to identify these areas that they consider disadvantaged communities. And so when we apply to MWD for funding, they ask us, well, what criteria are you using for disadvantaged communities? And they accept this EPA EnviroScreen tool as a criteria for disadvantaged communities. And so that's what we've submitted to Metropolitan Water District for other programs, like the SoCal Gas program that was targeted to disadvantaged communities. We used the Cal EPA EnviroScreen tool, which they accepted, and we're doing the same with this program. So those shaded areas that you see on the map can they consider disadvantaged through the EPA tool. And MWD accepts that. So we can get funding from Metropolitan. Like Matt mentioned, this program is 100% funded through MWD, utilizing this tool.
And do you have the stage number?
337.
38.7.
So we were, I can add directors, we were very successful, as you know, with our SoCal Gas partnership. They were targeting and they were using this tool, and we provided over 200 residents throughout the shaded areas there with installations of devices through the SoCal Gas program. And so we're intending to use the same tool that's been accepted by MWD for this pilot program, this Parkway pilot program as well.
And looking at the map, and I would agree that those are designated disadvantaged community areas. That does not preclude having folks that can afford to pay for this themselves as opposed to those who really can't. We're really trying to target and aid those people that need the help. So not approving a particular application in the shaded area does not preclude metropolitan funding, and as long as it's in the shaded area, they don't care, that meets their criteria. So we're just putting general criteria where we're trying to target those people that need the most help
Within those areas, correct.
within those areas. So it doesn't seem like it should be all that difficult to do.
I guess we'd have to work on a process. I mean, income verification, if it would be a stated income, or if we would require a tax.
I think
Document?
you just have them sign, this is my income and under penalty of perjury and leave it at that. You don't have to get the tax forms, etc. Just a simple,
Mr. Chair, let me ask you a
Yeah.
question. I'm not trying to jeopardize this. I would like to see it go forward. I guess I was always of the understanding all these programs had income verification. So quite frankly, if they don't, I do feel like we're defeating some of our purpose. And I guess we didn't realize that to a degree. Because, for example, and I know, look, we have Del Air, we have Wiseburn, we have Holly Glen. Even though those are in the shaded areas, some of those people have some means. So I want to see the folks take advantage of all these programs who have the financial need. But tell me if I'm wrong, or else if we're wrong, are we able to add our own criteria to this, or what? I'm not here to try and make this more complicated. I do think going forward, there ought to be those kind of things built into this, and I don't think it's that difficult, but
If you take the
just jeopardize the current package.
take the EnviroScreen application that Gus just described, it takes into account numerous factors, some of which are not actually financial, pollution, congestion, freeways and such. So there's a lot of different pieces to that in addition to the financial application. If you'd like us to request a declaration of income, that is something that could be doable as part of their application. I don't know if that would necessarily constitute perjury, but we could request the document.
I'm gonna go and do a lot of research. We just want people to, and most people tend to be honest about these things.
Oh, we could include that in the application.
Yeah, when they apply online, that could be one of the questions that they fill out. So we would have that information up front.
Household income, and then you look at it based on that.
Oh, yeah.
Address your concern?
Yeah, it does, but someone's making a judgment call then. Like, where's the number we say, if you're below this, you qualify, or if you're above it, you don't? Who's making that call?
The traditional disadvantaged community criteria has always been the median household income for the home.
Okay.
So median household income for LA County, it's for FY 2024 is X. If you're above that, you don't. If you're below that, you do. Pretty straightforward. I don't think we ought to make it any more complicated than that, a binary decision. Either you're here or you're not. Bill, we haven't heard from the other board members. Have any comments?
No, thank you.
Excuse me, EJ? Can I,
Yes.
as I mentioned, one of our partners is SoCal Gas, and they do have low income programs, so we could reach out to them as well to see what criteria they use.
So we agree if this moves forward that there will be an income criteria.
Why don't we do this, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
So number one, I just want to confer with legal counsel. If we do, we're okay to do this, right?
I think we could do that. I'd recommend rather than have them state their income, indicate whether they're above or below whatever the benchmark is. So they're not, I'm not sure we want to have everyone's income data.
Right, like it's as you above or below.
Verify that you qualify, that you're below the threshold that we set.
With all that being said, I think that's doable, Mr. Chair, and I think whoever made the motion, maybe we could do that friendly amendment type of thing and tweak it.
There's no motion. to
Oh,
that.
no, we never made it yet. Oh, I
So
missed
would
that.
you like to make a motion?
I will make the motion. So I will move staff's recommendation, adding the criteria we just indicated. That's my motion.
We have a second to that motion. I'll go ahead and second the motion. We have a motion and a second. Can we take a vote?
Okay, and just to clarify, so staff will come up with the median household, property owner, income. And we'll cross-check that as far as the defined disadvantaged household. Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray,
yes,
Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Okay. Next item is item 8E, which is the adoption of resolution number 02-24-1203, authorizing the general manager to open bank accounts. Mr. General Manager, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, Mr. President, this item was heard by the Finance and Administration Committee and was recommended for action by the board. For this presentation, we have Sandra Ruiz, our accountant too, and this does begin on packet page 338.
Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon, directors. I am here to present agenda item 8E, which, as EJ referred to, begins on packet page 338. The Small and Community Bank Investment Program was developed with the purpose of investing funds in banks who in turn invest in our service area through loans and education, as well as engage in and support community outreach events activities. As a recap, during October and November FNA committee meetings, staff presented information on 4 new potential banks that are eager to participate in the program. Staff also received instructions to conduct site visits at the 4 banks. On January 9th, staff and Director Williams conducted those site visits where all banks were received as favorable to the program. As part of the bank's due diligence process, they require that businesses be registered with the California Secretary of State. West Basin was formed under the Municipal Water District Law of 1911, and therefore is not required to register with the state. To open up the accounts, banks are requesting that the board adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to open up the accounts. You will find the resolution on packet page 340 and 341. With that, I would like to read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board adopt resolution number 02-24-1203, resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, confirming that the general manager, Edward J. Caldwell, is authorized to open an account in the amount of $245,000 with each of the following banks: Farmers and Merchants Bank, First Bank, First Foundation Bank, and Pacific Premier Bank. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions?
I'd move the item.
Have a motion? Do we have a
Second.
Have a second? So let's go ahead and take a vote on that, please.
Director Scott Houston.
Yes.
Director Don Deere.
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray.
yes,
Director Harold Williams.
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Then we do have one other item on the action calendar that we moved there, and that item regarding Director Deere's request for consideration of approving sponsorship for the Lennox MSTA STEM and Mr. General STEM Fair and Mr. General Manager, would you please introduce that item?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. As you mentioned, this item is 7B3, which was removed from the consent calendar and added to the action calendar. And for this presentation, we do have Hazel Vasquez, our Deputy Board Secretary, too.
President Alvarez, members of the board, if I can turn your attention to page 14, where this item does begin. And just a quick question, Director Alvarez, do you want me to go through the whole presentation for that item, or did you have a specific question that you want me to address?
Go ahead, go through the presentation.
So Director Deere is requesting consideration for West Basin to sponsor the Lennox Math Science and Technology Academy's STEM Fair event that is scheduled to be held on Saturday, March 16, 2024. This event caters to 4th to 6th graders from 6 elementary schools in Lennox, of which 120 participating students will compete in 3 different competitions. Those competitions are the Robo Sumo, Bridge Design and Test, as well as the Glider Design and Test. Director Deere would like the board to consider a $750 sponsorship that would grant West Basin a district booth or table to distribute district information. The sponsorship funds will go towards the purchase of supplies and materials, including building materials and equipment. West Basin previously sponsored this event in fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $500, which also provided the opportunity for a booth. Additional information regarding this sponsorship request is included in attachment C, which you can find on packet page 27. So with that, I'd like to read the recommendation. And that is on packet page 16 for your reference. Director Deere requests that the board consider approving sponsorship of the Lennox MSTA STEM Fair event scheduled to be held on Saturday, March 16, 2024 in the amount of $750. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Does any board members have any questions on this item? Okay, I pulled this item and moved it to the action calendar, so I didn't want to discuss it. First thing is, can you talk a little bit more about the actual targeted audience of this particular program? Because right now it's just Lennox MSTA STEM Fair, you didn't tell us much about it. So what, for example, what schools is it applicable to that are benefiting from these funds? What is the targeted age group that is going to benefit from this? What is the program going to actually do? Those kinds of questions, I would appreciate some background.
So what was shared with us is that the goal of the STEM Fair is to foster community play and connection to all the schools in Lennox. Students in their K through 12 district will experience the excitement and the physical components of what engineering is all about. Even more so since they are small, low-income inner city. They are a small, low-income inner city community. I apologize. I can't seem to do this. Is 5 minutes away from aerospace firms and utility companies. It is imperative that their students can see that there is a path to something more outside of that community. So it is highly focused on giving them the opportunity to, again, specifically 4th through 6th graders to compete in those competitions. They make teams. I believe there's, let me pull that information up. They do have a few different teams set up from the various schools that then go on to compete in another competition. I don't have that information. I did request it, but it looks like they're still putting that together. So they currently have, let me see here. There's each school that is included has 3 teams that will be competing. From those 3 teams, the winners will then be selected, and they, based on last year's, because this is only the 2nd annual STEM Fair, last year was their first. They then go on to compete in a event. Give me just a second here to give you the name of that. So after that, they do have a second event that they host called the Girls Build Lennox Academy, which in that case is specifically targeted for girls versus all students. But it kind of helps to bridge, it's the starting point essentially for that next competition that's tailored just for the girls. That's all I've got unless you have another specific question.
I think it's very important that we do insurance, use the general, to understand that there's an awful lot of opportunities out there. And STEM is one area which is geared more to very technical science, technology, and engineering. But beyond that, we do need to make sure that all kids, and not just kids for their parents, say you can be anything you want. And I think most parents should do that, but there are a lot of children that come from households where that's just taken for granted. And yet there are communities where we have households where that is not a fact of life, or taken for granted. And Lennox happens to be one of those areas, but we have more than that within our service area. Where we do have households where doing anything you want is something that's talked about, but not taken for granted in the way it is in much of the other areas of West Basin's jurisdictional boundaries. So I think these kinds of programs are pretty good. I would like to see, and not this particular one, this is a very small step, but it's an opportunity to discuss and bring this back to the board. I would like to see us come back with a real targeted effort to address reaching out to those communities where the opportunities, whether it be in science and technology or just in anything, can be augmented and targeted really at the K through 8 level, not so much the high school. I think early on you need to get that message out there. And one of the things I noticed about this particular program that we're looking at sponsoring now is that it is geared at K through high school, which is fine, but it's those early years that are really formative years. And that we target this for those communities for reaching out and offering these opportunities and showing people that if we want to just focus about water, no, you don't have to be an engineer to be in water. You can come into water with a background in public information. There's a lot of things. Water professionals come just from the engineering profession. Okay? So I'm not so much asking for that type of program. Would like us to see something that's more targeted, to really reach out, help communities in need, push these kinds of programs at the grade school level. And I don't think we've seen that participation in the past, from certain segments of our communities, whether it be in our public art contest where, we do the artwork for the calendars, etc. We get them from certain segments of our service area. We get tons of kids, but others still participate to that level. So if we can come back and develop a program that's really targeted to that. Now, I'd like to add to this that this goes to a couple of points that were raised last week when there was a presentation made on the annual World Diversity Report for West Basin. Director Williams talked about developing a pipeline. And I think that's a place to start that pipeline early on. We do need to target. And so this is an opportunity to do that. And this is not a short-term, make us feel good type of thing. When we give them $500 or $1,000 and show up at an event and give a little 2-minute speech and thank you. This is really to lay the groundwork for a long-term program that reaches out to those communities. So with that, I don't know if any other board members have any other comments or not, but I would like to see that come back. Any comment? Go ahead, Director.
Well, number one, I echo everything President has said. And of course, I think we have been starting to work on a lot of this with our workforce development item over the course of the last year, let alone we do, as we solidify that, need to make sure this is part of it, EJ, and a focus. So I think that only amplifies that we need to focus on the lower grade levels and the outreach specifically across our jurisdiction. So thank you, because I've been talking about this for quite some time and I'm really excited about it. But I think that the onus is on us to do it and get it out there. And that our staff needs to help us make that happen. Now, secondarily to this item, I'm very happy to see that school district doing this because prior to redistricting, I did represent a portion of Lenox. And I was very focused myself on those schools, which I felt really never get the attention they deserve in this region. Most people don't even know Lenox exists, that small pocket, quite frankly. So I'm happy to see what you're doing. I'm happy that Director Deere brought this forward to us. It's obviously not a really big expenditure, quite frankly, from this district. But yes, this is a good first step in that relationship with them, no matter which director represents that jurisdiction. So I'm happy to support this. And actually, I'll move the item, Mr. President. But I echo his comments as to next steps from this district. Thank you.
I'd just like to echo everything that has been said. And with one note is that when you're looking at constructing a pipeline construction is a heavy duty commitment because you won't know the fruits of your labor until years down the road. And we look at what happens in the water industry for heavy duty projects. They don't happen overnight. It takes a long time to get a water project done. It's kind of like what we should say in public works. Public works has a bad reputation of taking a long time to get a project completed. And usually they take longer, takes more money than originally estimated. So you got to hang in there. So I'm hoping that if we look at constructing a pipeline for young folks, that we hang in there, we stay in there. It's knowing that you're not gonna see the fruits of your labor the first year, but it's gonna take time. So it has to be a commitment by the organization so that the next folks, leaders come in, won't forget it, we keep at it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Director Gray, do you have any additional comments?
No, I think my colleagues have expressed a lot of what I would have said, but thank you.
I could make a friendly amendment. And the amendment would be not only to approve the item brought forward by Director Deere, but that we provide direction to staff to bring forward a program for the long-term development of educational opportunities targeted at the.
And Mr. President, I believe the committee and the board gave the general manager very specific direction at the conclusion of the diversity report to bring back a strategic plan. So I think this piece of it is a significant effort as far as what needs to be in that plan. And so it will be brought back to the full board, but I appreciate you including it in this motion as well.
Yes, I'll agree to that.
Director Deere, I think you seconded the motion. Would you agree to that?
Yep.
All right, with that, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere.
Yeah.
Director Gloria Gray,
yes,
Director Harold Williams.
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Okay. So next item is the information calendar. The any board member want any of the information items presented or to remove the information calendar in its entirety?
I'll move it, the entire item 9. Be received, wow.
I'll second.
Have a motion in a second. There's no comments. We'll take a vote on that.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Gray, Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Next item is the receive and file calendar. Unless somebody would like to pull any one of those items, have a motion to move that receive and file calendar.
So move. Second.
Let's go ahead and take the vote.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Next item is general manager's activities report. Mr. General Manager, do you have any report you'd like to make besides the written report you submitted?
Yes, Mr. President. As you mentioned, the GM update has been emailed to the entire board. And of course, there are hard copies here for you all today. The only other item that's not included in there, but was mentioned at the Finance and Administration Committee, very excited to announce the selection of Wendy Nakamura as West Basin's newest Chief Financial Officer. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next item, the general counsel's report. Mr. General Counsel, do you have any?
I have nothing to report for open session.
And then, coming up next is the AB 1234 reporting compliance. So board members, do you have anything that you need to bring up today? And we'll start with you, Director Deere.
No.
Director Williams,
No, thank you.
Director Houston.
Sure. Let's see, 3 items since our last meeting on January 23rd. I attended the El Segundo Arts Commission along with our general manager, EJ Caldwell, as we were talking about some potential art projects related to the city and the water district. January 24th, I attended the South Bay Sunrise Rotary Club. They made a presentation. And on January 31st, the El Segundo, the city, hosted what we call a neighborhood pop-up event. And that's the second time they've done this. And they had a really good turnout. And so I was there on behalf of the district because they invited me. And we had a table and we had some materials. Also, our South Bay COG folks from the Environmental Services Organization were there. And it's just a really unique, this is their second time, a pilot program they're trying. It's kind of a neighborhood by neighborhood strategically. And it's pretty cool, quite frankly. So I hope maybe other people will take an interest and look at that in some other cities. But back to this, again, I want to thank staff for providing materials that I was there with. So thank you.
Director Gray, do you have anything to report?
nothing to report, thank you.
I don't have anything to add, so we will move on to the next item, which is closed session. Mr. General Counsel.
We'll go into closed session for the items that are stated on the agenda, which are 3, conference legal counsel anticipated litigation.
Okay, with that, we will bring the closed session and, convene that. Okay, are we on? We're reconvening the regular West Basin Municipal Water District Board meeting. Come out of closed session, so Mr. General Counsel, would you like to report on closed session, please?
Yes, I'd like to report that there was no action taken during closed session that's reportable pursuant to the Brown Act.
Okay, next item up is director comments and future agenda items. Do we have any?
You,
All right,
number one, we have an adjournment.
yes, we do have an adjournment.
You got that one, right?
Mhm.
So prior to that, reminder, vote on or by March 5th. Big election coming up that probably not that many people are paying attention to in some ways, unfortunately. And I hear most of the returns are coming in really, really slow across the state. And other than that, I think we've had some really productive discussions today. So I want to thank my colleagues for that and also thank our staff for your work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, do you have any comment?
Or just echo what has been said. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any comments, but I would like to adjourn this meeting in memory of Bill Grant. Bill Grant was the mayor and a council member at the city of Redondo Beach. One of the cities in my division and one of the cities that we served through Cal Water. Bill was very active in moving forward with the closing of the Redondo Beach generating station and putting that into public use and just a strong proponent of the community. So memory of Bill Branson will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Yep.